This word God is a word we use as human beings to define a concept. And this word God that we collectively choose to call God may be called other things in other languages by other people. And there's been this concept of God that we've seen in the human species separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years. We also see a similar theme, different names to describe what we would call the devil, or Satan, or to the Gnostics, the demiurge, or to the Muslims, shaitan. And there's so many other terms, Maya, this illusion, this entity of illusion, Maya, and perhaps in Judaism and in other faiths, there are other terms for what we deem to be God and the devil. These are terms. These are terms that are still abstract, even if someone believes in a monotheistic view. When you hear someone talk about the power of God or the power of prayer to God or to the Creator, to the Great Spirit, things may be triggered in you that bring out anger because you heard of someone else's perception of God, and at some point they try to impose their will upon you. And another way to put that is at some point you were victimized. And if at some point you were victimized and you were put under someone else's control, you're put under someone else's rule, and worst of all, your parents took part in that, and you were held hostage for maybe several hours on a certain part of the week, a certain day of the week, and you were told a certain way of thinking that you knew was not correct. That can bring out a sense of resentment because someone victimized you and actually tried to occupy your mind. So what I would recommend is when you hear about, if you are curious about God, or if you are curious about how things really work, you may not call it God. You may call it how things really work. You may call it nature. Now I will say to you, all those things came from something else. Even science, with its understanding of the Big Bang, something triggered that, which triggered other series of events that led to the creation of life that we see all over this beautiful planet, all over these cosmos, an infinite number of life forms in this omniverse. Something created that, and there's some sort of a purpose to it, and quite a few of us have figured out at some point in our life that there is a yin yang aspect of this matrix, positive negative polarity. We see man woman, we see night day, we identify with good evil, we identify with left right, we identify with right wrong. We may have very abstract philosophical worldviews, and some of you may lean to say that there is no intelligence in the universe at all whatsoever, except ourselves, and it's all just the result of some kind of an accident. But there is quantitative evidence of a oneness, of a field of energy. Quantum physics have taken people in the last few directions to whole new understandings, directions of understandings, paths of understandings, worlds of understandings. And in just the last year, an acceleration in articles about how our world may be a computer simulation. And they're looking at what? They're looking at cosmic rays, which bombard our Earth's magnetic field, just like the sun's coronal mass ejections and flares impact our field around us, causing magnetic flux, geomagnetic storms, which triggers changes in the brains, which triggers changes in consciousness, changes in feeling, sensation, changes in outlook, changes in behavior, for better or for worse, depending on the person that's being affected and their ability to be in balance. So this looking at our world being a computer simulation has further validated for a lot of people this idea that there is a intelligent creator of this matrix. Now, we should ask the question, and we should live our lives constantly asking certain questions about the nature of God and who the true creator is. The true God, not the false God. Because it seems like in this realm we're in a world of Russian dolls. There is the earth realm and what happens here. And there are other realms though, and we're connected with some of those other realms that are beyond the earth. But in this earth realm, it is clear to me that the God that many have been worshiping for thousands of years is more likened to the devil, Shaitan, or the demiurge than the true creator. And what I'm seeing right now, I'm seeing a mass awakening on YouTube and people giving lectures about history throughout the world, text throughout the worlds. And in the Nag Hammadi text, which you can learn more about on the internet now because there is an explosion of information about it. And I think this is why so many people truly gravitate to Laura Eisenhower. It's the things that she's saying about the Sophic myth, about the sacred feminine, about really the true fall of man that we need to look at, not the fairy tales. And in this Nag Hammadi text, which the Gnostics wrote around 400 AD, and they were buried because, of course, they were a group that was being heavily persecuted at that time. They were discovered in 1945 in Nag Hammadi, Egypt. And in just recent years, I found out about it. Others have been speaking out about it. When I got involved in this stuff a decade ago, I could find out about the Nag Hammadi text by looking it up on the internet, but it wasn't being discussed by those around me. No one ever that talked about the Mayan stuff, the other ancient texts, all the Zachariah Sitchin fans that have been taking some of his stuff as gospel, and now there's a lot of people questioning, what he translated correctly and what he did not translate correctly, and I'm starting to wonder myself. But I've never really gotten deep into his books, but I do share a similar understanding of the ancient past. I've just never felt drawn to his books for some reason. But all that time, no one has ever come up to me and dropped me a copy of the Nag Hammadi text, where they wrote at the time that this being that cast Adam and Eve out of the garden, and we're not talking about the snake that walked. No, the demiurge. Their mythological and truly historical, because it was written to be more historical than mythological. It's believed by many to be a more pure spiritual text. The demiurge banished Adam and Eve from the garden. And I highly recommend a viewing of Ray Hagen's Idiotic Concepts in Religion, where he breaks down this so-called literal historic event. And he asks basic questions like an intelligent person may ask basic questions about 9/11. And he's asking, so this God that is all-knowing, he is everywhere. He has to ask Adam where he is when he comes into the garden and he senses something wrong and he goes, Adam, where art thou? This all-knowing creator doesn't know where Adam is. And then it gets even deeper and it gets even deeper. He has got to ask him if he ate the apple, this all-knowing creator, something that God created. He punishes a snake and all snakes by saying, you will crawl now on your belly and eat dirt. And Ray Hagen said to his audience, turn to someone and say, snakes don't eat dirt. I mean, it's pure comedy. I highly recommend you Google Ray Hagen's Idiotic Concepts in Religion, and you share it with someone that uses that particular event to subjectify women to a lifetime of slavery. And I believe that this infection of the mind contributes to women staying with controlling structures, dogmatic belief systems, ultimately manipulative men, leading towards a poor sense of self, bad relationships, drama upon drama upon drama. And then there are other people that talk about the snake. Is the snake really, really evil as we've been told by the ancient texts and the opinions that David Icke has shared, of which he has, I will not say backpedaled, and I think there's some truth in many of the things that David Icke has said over the years. I know there's a lot of debate, though, concerning David Icke, concerning how he sees himself, how important he sees himself, his relationship to God above ours. And people get upset because he elevates himself at times, he seems to, and talks about these beings that he channels or has channeled at some point that have been in his head. And he hasn't exactly given his audience suggestions to turn towards the Almighty Creator. See, I noticed this the day one that I picked up David Icke's work. But I've always appreciated David Icke's work because I don't have a mindset that some people possess that I have to agree with everything that you say, because I'm not in a situation where I'm looking for someone to lead me. And I'm not exactly looking to lead others. I do believe that I inherently in me have a sense of information that I hear others discuss, and it activates something in me like a light bulb turning on. And I'm looking at that part of me that remembers this. It's being triggered by actual words that someone's saying. I'm going, oh, and I'm examining these thoughts inside me as I'm feeling thoughts all the time, 24/7. It's just in my wiring. It makes me different than other people that are discontent. Just drinking and watching Illuminati football and Miley Cyrus, getting mock doggy style fucked on MTV or whatever it was. I'm not even going to look. And they're content with these things, and eating GMO and eating poor food and hanging with poor people with low energy and things of that nature. It doesn't work for me long term. I have to really just swallow it just to be around people that are even in that realm. Again, this is another reason why I've chosen to live off the grid outside of many of the cities that many of you are living in, because it feels so toxic to my soul and at times abusive that I don't want to be victimized. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of you have been victimized. Or at some point, someone did rape your mind or try to rape your mind. And it's because of that that people lean towards some of these altruistic views of God. They're either going to, latch onto an ideology where they worship someone else's understanding of God, and they tell someone, if you don't follow this particular way, you're not going to make it, just in general. And it doesn't matter what religion you believe in. If you believe in that type of an ideology, if you don't believe XYZ and these particular names, that the others will be banished, you've already been inserted into that paradigm. But you hold on to it because the world is very insecure, and you want to hold on to something secure because you don't see security elsewhere. So I understand where you're coming from. Now, for other people, they see people trying to insert the demiurge, which again is the Gnostic definition of the Christian Satan or Lucifer, cast down to the earth. The realm where he rules from the underground or the underworld. Shaitan. So a lot of people have been infected and attacked by the power of Shaitan, the devil, the demiurge, Lucifer, El Diablo, and they don't want to be the devil's slave. And so when they hear God, they think devil, and they shy away from it because inside of them they know better. But you've got to reach a place of balance and actually being spiritually fit. If you're just grabbing onto an ideology where they explain to you what's right and what's wrong, and you don't have to do the internal work, then you're not doing the work that you're on earth to do. You're opening yourself up to someone else's control. And you may become someone that goes out to control other people. And then on the other side, as we just discussed, there are people that rebel against the control, but they don't find their true spiritual nature because they're led to believe by other aspects of the dark control that want to come in through the other door. Heavy emphasis on the other door. They come in not through the main door. They come in through the other door and they get you the other way. And they tell you that there is no God, that there is no hope. And a popular one that many of my peers believe today because they're concerned about the future, that humanity is a virus. Now, those thoughts and more are incredibly toxic and are also coming from the same shaitan, demiurge, archonic. I haven't